Welcome to Cosmic Conversations. You are tapping in to the root of the symmetry. I'm your boy, Tehuti Trismegistus, aka Hermes Thrice Great, aka Chase Clarence Calloway, aka Trip C, triple the cough. Now, cough is air. So, what is air? Communication. Air is how we create life. And that is basically, what we're talking about, like, every episode. I haven't done one of these in a while. Let me relax. I just hit this, but, like, I haven't done one of these in a while, bro. It's nice to see you again. Like, Cosmic Conversations is truly supposed to be the time where I can just riff, tune in to other spaces, and vibe. Yeah, it's funny. Like, the words I'm using are like riff, vibe, other musical improv words. Like, I get inspired by questions. I have so many questions. That's why, like, I've been doing other series. So, dissect the dialect. If you've seen that, like, that's taken weeks just to film and edit, and I'm doing all of it on my own. So it's not like I am on the level of Chadwick Boseman playing me in Gods of Egypt, where I have real life shadow clones of me, and they can literally edit my videos for me. We're not there yet. It's much more esoteric. It's not grounded here, right? We're riding a wave where we all have one body and we can all relate in these similar ways, and that's the point of life. That's the point of spirits creating anything so they can connect with something outside themselves. So that's what today's question is about. I'm just like trying to get back into the swing of, yes, cosmic. What a conversation. We're in the cosmic astral realm. I've been so focused on just getting things out. Like, specifically, dissect the dialect has been blowing my mind. Spirits have been blowing my mind with showing me how intentional everything is. Because I'm learning. Like, I fast, I communicate, I learn. So when you look up me online, when you look up Hermes Trismegistus, you will see that I get my wisdom, I write from going into meditative trances, quote unquote. And these meditative trances are me literally removing my mind from my body so I can communicate with spirits that are not in the simulation we're in. And so then that's where we get the awareness of how Earth, all simulations, all worlds exist in one pool. And we can call that pool the universe. And that's water. And so then that's why all Earth comes out of water. All spirits in general, they feel chaotic. And then they stabilize that feeling, but we all have our own logical view of stabilizing feelings. And then our feelings change. So then the point is, feelings are everything. It's just really easy to logically say feelings don't matter. But then it's like, you're only saying that because you feel like your feelings don't matter. And now you're consuming someone else's feelings. So who told you that your feelings don't matter? This is what today's question is about. When we're thinking about intuition and feelings, and you knowing that you are God, like, the fact that you are aware, the fact that you have your own imagination means that you are your own individual spirit. So I'm excited as Chase because this is the first time in my life where I feel like I can fully articulate this stuff through English now. And it's cool with this awakening, everything I'm doing with being able to remove my mind from my body, communicate with other spirits, and literally having this awakening from spirits talking with me. Because this awakening is only possible because I'm able to die without dying. I'm able to remove my mind from my body and communicate with spirits that are not in this space, but are creating this space because we're creating the universe. So then that's where you get, like, that awareness, like, whoa, like, you remove when you die, you actually raise your vibration. You go back to being water versus earth. Like, life is death. Like, life is when you want to stabilize your feelings, right? Because death is just feeling. Death is like, I'm feeling all these things, but I want to make a life out of it. I want to make a life out of it. And then you stabilize it, and now you have some structure. And of course, that structure looks like it's still, but we know that all Earth is vibrating. So that structure is always transforming, and that's why death is forever, and we're all dying, we're all fine. It's all physical reality. And this is what we as spirits just do forever. So, this question is, I'm already like getting into it, but like I'm just excited because this awakening journey has been wild for me. It's wild for me to have been doing everything I'm doing in my life naturally, and then be able to look it up online and just see that that's it. Like that's me. Like, oh yeah, boom. Like I'm that entity. Yeah, that's me. That's been me. All these synchronicities in my life, everything I've already built is already developed on that. And my spirit created a situation where I'm living out this ego of being an American named Chase, and an indigenous boy in a white supremacist world, and really caring about the truth and scribing the truth, and somehow being able to, if I could remove my mind from my body and travel through dimensions and observe the truth, I would write it down for everyone who cared enough to learn about it to learn. That's me. Like that's already like me. That's been Tehuti. That's been Hermes. Like that's been Mercury. That's why I built Mercury. So it's me developing all that, and it's really cool that my spirit is having me express itself through this English language in a new way. But then when it's like, all right, you've already built this up, go look on the internet like this. You're that entity. You've been this. And then it's like, cool. Now I can literally connect it to that, and we're building upon our past lives. But the whole thing is the balance of you are naturally expressing yourself because you're not wrapped up in past lives. But if you truly are who you are, then your past lives are just going to be a continuation of what you've been doing. Cool awakening. Because specifically growing up in a white supremacist culture that's teaching us that we only live once because they want to make money off of limiting our awareness, this has been quite the trip. Yo, Tehuti Trismegistus. I've been trying to listen to my spirit more. I like that. As I watch your videos on being aware that you're creating life from no thing because you feel like it. It seems so paradoxical and impossible, but obviously we do it every second. That's right. Seconds are literally us looking at what came first and blocking it out. And what came first? Our feeling. Right? If you didn't have the feeling, you wouldn't be able to create a second. So even that word second, right? The moment we say, oh, we're counting the seconds, we're not counting the first. It's literally like spirit just works through this language. This is why I'm like on my Mercury stuff. I'm like, spirit works through everything. There's no coincidence. You can learn about yourself no matter where you go in the universe. Wisdom is forever. Like the spirit has to use truth to create lies. This is why American movies always talk about indigenous peoples and the genocide against indigenous peoples. They can't ignore the truth, but they use the truth to sell lies. They use the truth to sell some kind of whitewashed, messed up agenda. But the fact is that lie wouldn't matter if they weren't using the truth. It's only relatable if they acknowledge that they built and do build all their systems on the consistent brutalization of indigenous peoples. It's just then they need to use that truth to make you feel something differently about it. So it's just wild because, yeah, we're counting the seconds. That's Earth right there. The second is Earth. The first is water. The first is your feeling. And then the second is you connecting with your feeling, which is like stabilizing it. And then that's creating a body. And your feeling was you connecting with your imagination. So it's all this connection thing. And once you connect your imagination with your feeling, you communicate. And your communication is what builds a structure that is then you connecting with your feeling. Because you yourself are the spirit, but if you're connecting with your feeling, you're using a body to do so. So here we are with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It seems so paradoxical and impossible. Obviously, we do it every second. Can you explain how this works and how I can listen to my intuition better? Yeah, I kind of already been doing that. So that's hilarious on my part. But the fact is, I like just went into all that because now that I've read the question, I mean, we go deeper. Can I use more complex words? I mean, not complex words. You know, like how do we go? Like, yeah, all the subconscious reasons, right? Like that's what deeper is. So let's look at the subconscious reasons because we know what feeling is. Feeling is water, and that itself is subconscious. So we have to use all the things that we have. So we have all this earth, right? You're watching me through a phone. You have a body that can process the words that I'm saying, and you have a relationship with these words that's hopefully similar enough to a relationship I have with these words that you are getting what I'm laying down. This is how we have to relate as spirits. Otherwise, we're too individual. So the fact that you exist means that you are infinitely powerful. Anything that you could ever imagine God to be is you. So we're all infinite in our own imaginations. And our imaginations then clearly separate us. So this is our fire. This is what we call fire then in the environment, where the whole universe is separated by fire and united by water. All of us as spirits are separated by our fire. Our passions are what separate us. You're not passionate about the same things I'm passionate about. You're not in this simulation for the same reasons I'm in this simulation. But they're similar, but they're not the same. And more specifically, our exact imaginations are definitely not the same. Because the fact is, the moment I'm imagining something new, only I can see it. Only I can see what I'm imagining right now. No one else can see what I'm imagining because they're not in my space. So then this is where I learned that because no one else can see what I'm imagining other than me, I'm an individual space. And this is where we get spirits being space. So that's you being nothing. So you being nothing is actually infinite. And then your imagination is your expression of infinity. The fact is, the moment you express infinity, it's finite, right? So that's how it be. Now, fire is a desire to be infinite in a finite, expressive way. Elements help when we're looking at how we create life every day so we can learn about ourselves as nothing. So you as a space cannot be touched. No one can touch you but yourself. This is what I like going through Dissect the Dialect. It was so trippy. Watch that if you haven't. Dissect the Dialect literally was me just like getting in my trances. Like I was hanging out with my friend and her dad, and we were going to gardens and like a lot of nature. And literally, it was hilarious because this garden that we went to here in LA had, I like when we were walking around it. It's such a beautiful place. It's so huge. We were starting to get into Greek architecture, and I started to get nostalgic. And I was like, all right, I feel like there's going to be a Hermes statue here. Like I'm here. Like I know I'm here somewhere because I'm seeing things that make me feel nostalgic, and I know I feel nostalgic because I'm looking at these things and they're triggering these memories inside of my subconscious based on the Greek architecture that they've got going on. And then that's where I was in the middle, like we're hanging out, and I'm just like, I'm constantly writing. You know, like again, like my awakening journey, right? Just constantly creating, constantly making something from nothing based on what I'm seeing, so that I can hopefully have other people see it too. This is what we're always doing as spirits. It's what we all do forever and ever. So it's just like, how conscious are we of doing that? At what level are we creating something from nothing so other people can see what we see? And then we're not alone in our perspective. Because that's all that drives life. Spirit's not wanting to be alone. So then this is the fact, you're alone in your imagination, right? So no one would be able to prove or like say any of this stuff except me. Because I'm the spirit. I'm always alone in my imagination. So everything I've created as Hermes, as Tehuti, as Ningish Zeta, as Idris, as Enoch, as Symmetry, as Chikatet, as Iracel, all these names, as all these different bodies, everything I've created is an expression of my imagination, going from something to nothing based on how I feel like connecting it to others. If I don't feel like connecting what I see to you, I'm not sitting here answering your question. I'm not even asking you to ask me a question, like, because I don't care about you, right? So this is what drives the universe: is care. See air, right? So what you care about is the air that you see, and what you care about is what you're connected to. So you're always connected to yourself, meaning that you're always going to see yourself. You see that? This is why projection being perception is such an insane lesson. It's gonna be so pertinent forever and ever. You can never perceive past yourself. Like that's our point as a space. So when I'm doing dissected dialect, I'm like in the garden just writing. I knew I was gonna see Hermes, right? And I'm feeling it. And my friend who I'm with, Shauna, she ends up pointing out as we're walking by the library, like, oh, wait, wait, I'm actually telling this wrong. Because there's place I noticed that there was a huge statue with curly hair. And I was like, bro. And I hit her. And I was like, yes. I'm like, that's me. And I like walked around it because first it was the butt. And I came up at it from behind. And walked around and turned towards the front. And it's straight up Hermes. I'm like, knew it was me, bro. Like, it's the curly hair. Like, they make me look white, but I still, that's my thing with this unawareness stuff. I don't really feel like I was that white. So when it comes with like the kinky hair and everything, that's like a huge dead giveaway as far as the indigenous curly swirly CQs that Chase Clarence Calloway likes to fly around with in his caduceus, his curly cues. So then my friend Shauna was like, oh yeah, that's crazy. Like, isn't he right by the library? And I'm just like, dang. And so when she pointed out that this statue of me was right by the library, and then it was like Hermes right next to Hercules, and I was like, oh yeah, like absolutely, like that makes sense. Hermes, messenger of the gods, and then of course Hermes is next to Hercules because they both go the distance. And it's just like I find myself in these situations where then I'm communicating these things and I'm observing myself as a spirit be a conduit for my own lessons. So then it's about me reflecting on me being a conduit for my own lessons based on the situations I put myself in as an infinite spirit. So this body is a finite version of me as an infinite God. And then it's riding a wave based on how I communicate. And that's where I learn about myself, because all I can see is myself. I care about myself. And then I care about everyone who's connected to me. And the fact is, as Hermes, as Thoth, as Symmetry, I care about indigenous people. I care about nature. I care about the spirits that make the universe, which is all of us. That's where we're all indigenous. And that's where Dissected Dialect was crazy, bro. Because literally, it was this whole trip of just like being in the garden, finding Hermes here, and then Shauna being like, he's by the library, and me being like, oh, he's right by Hercules, going the distance, and me being like, dang, I have to just like build up this library, like this whole internet wave now. I'm here as Chase because I'm supposed to put my mind in English and make basically as much content as possible for this internet library age. We can go on the internet and see all the texts that I've written in the past and how they've been destroyed by the people who've made the internet and brought it here to colonize our minds, with this language especially. So it has to be me being back here using this language. So the fact is, we create life, and we're always learning about how we do this. And it's all based on feeling. Like, if I didn't feel so passionately about this, I wouldn't be motivated to show up and care enough to communicate what I see. So just that whole, like, this Dissected Dialect and creating it broadened my awareness so hard in being able to realize how nothing is a coincidence. Therefore, everything is intentional. So with nothing being a coincidence, that means that the spirit itself is the coincidence. So everything's happening inside of the spirit. That's the coincidence. So when you're like, what a coincidence? Yeah, spirit set it up. It's a synchronicity, Versus then intentional, that's where everything inside of it, intentional. Spirit set it up. It's a synchronicity. So with nothing being a coincidence and everything being intentional, it's just about your awareness of like catching these things. And that's what your question is really about when we're talking about intuition. Because, I mean, it's a wild ride I'm talking about here for my life. Like, my life is wild. My life's crazy. My life's amazing. Like, that crazy awakening for me to just go through these experiences and be writing and learning, like, dang, okay, so letter A represents this, and it shows how spirit, and then like every letter in the alphabet tells a story of how spirit makes life. And then that's where I developed everything with numbers first. So spirit uses numbers to architect life first. And then that's where all languages are going to be numerical. So no matter what language you have going on, it's about to be using vowels and it's going to be using numbers, and there's going to be a story there based on your subconscious. So dissected dialect is all about exploring the subconscious of the colonial crusaders who desire to create English and use it to erase indigenous spirituality. And Hermes is an indigenous spirit. So here we are doing the thing in English. Everything's set up, it's lit. So with everything being feeling and us creating things, us creating earth out of feeling, and then us creating feeling out of nothing, it's truly like this whole alchemy, right? You look into Hermes and everything, he's like the god of alchemy, communication, basically everything, because it's all about communication. Hermeticism is just all about how spirits create something from nothing. And I get to be here learning and articulating that based on how we connect. Like, I've been this spirit. I'm always going to be this space. I'm always going to develop it. It's just dissected dialect showed me that I'm purposefully limiting my awareness so I can connect with you in a way that is relatable and makes sense. And that's what we're all doing, right? So we're all infinite individuals. I have no idea who you are until you start to talk to me. And the more we communicate, the more I can get a grasp on where you're coming from. But I'll never know who you are because I can never be in you. I can never be in your space. You can make a body. If you're a female body, we can now simulate, me being in you. And now you can be like, oh, Chase is in me. But like, I'll never be able to be in you. See how sex is literally, we create simulations to have sex. We desire to be touching another space. As space, we feel either whole or whole inside of ourselves. WHOLE or HOLE. And regardless, you either feel whole, WHOLE, so you want to share it with someone else, or you feel HOLE and you want to consume someone else. Either way, life is powered by connections, as we can see. So we alchemize something out of nothing, literally from the pure desire of wanting to connect with space outside of ourselves. And that's where we get elements. So that's why elements are alchemy, and we're using words to describe like the base things that spirit does to move the body like this. So to explain it like even deeper, you're a, you're a spirit. You're an individual spirit. And you have your own imagination. So you are alone in your imagination. Your imagination is your fire. And your imagination is what separates you from all other spirits. And your imagination is constantly blazing. It's where all your passion comes from. And it's your awareness, right? So your imagination is you when you're woke. You're just super woke. You're God. You are God. There's nothing to be aware of but you. So then that's where God is a narcissist, basically. Because God is like, okay, everything's about me. Because I'm everything. I'm animating everything. All I can see is me. Because God is fire. God is pure desire. So fire is the desire to create something. So that's why all of us is nothing. Our first light that we create, anytime we're doing something, we're about to do something, is fire. This is where I like literally dissected dialect is wild. Like, I developed this whole thing called the cycle of three. I'm pretty sure it's how all structures are built in life. No matter what simulation, what structure you're looking at, what earth, it was built through a spirit going through the cycle of three. So then we also have the cycle of three going through the alphabet so that we can see how it just repeats in terms of like fire, water, air, fire, water, air. And all earth is created. All fours are created from 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that makes like a box. So your structure is animated by your nothingness, first creating an idea that no one else can see. Right? So that's your fire. That's your imagination. It separates from nothing. So immediately it's like, something. And that's an expression of your space. You're an individual. No one can see your expression of your space. So right there's your something. And then you connect with it. Okay, now you have your feeling. So, and that something was created from your feeling. It's just the first representation of your feeling. So that's why fire is desire and then water is like that demon. Because fire is the desire to make something, but water is the actual possibility of it. So fire is too consumptive for its own good and too destructive for its own good. So this is where you as a spirit, if you actually did everything you projected in your mind, you'd be dead. We know you'd be dead. Right? Like we'd be dead. We'd all be dead if we literally did everything that came to our mind first. Like this is how base this is. You know, like as a space, you're using this body to learn about yourself. So you know that when you're walking in the street and you just have those thoughts like jump into the street, get hit by a car. You know, when you're like walking on a cliff, jump off the cliff, just go into the ocean, just die. You know, like just like those thoughts where then you're like, whoa. You know, and then you as a spirit observe that, and then that's your cycle where it's like you project it out and then you reflect it. Like, right, you see your vision, kill yourself, you reflect it. I don't want to do that. And then you communicate it, you balance it by not doing it or just balancing it out, reacting to it, right? So it's positive, negative balance, positive, negative balance, positive, negative balance, and that creates all things. That's why all energy is vibrating at a certain frequency. So, when getting deeper into how nothing creates something, like that's like the drive. You as a spirit having an idea that you want to share with spirits outside of yourself. So what I learned going through Dissected Dialect is literally, I mean, clearly I know this, it's just about me being able to communicate it in English and my spirit creating the circumstances for me every day where I can learn more and more about these things in English, because I've personally been limited by English. That's the point of all of us riding this wave together. So we're all limited by the light that we have to communicate. We're all limited by the love, by the language, by the desire that we have to connect with each other. So I'm not limited in how I can communicate with myself. I can separate my mind from my body. I can die. I can go hang out with my other dead spirit family and then come back here and have religious people be like, oh, you're part of God and you need to go to heaven. And they'll be telling me that for decades. They've been telling me that for decades. And that was hell. That was hell. I'm truly in heaven now that I know who I am and I'm able to hang out with my spirit family whenever I want. So no one can tell me shit. You know, obviously, like I know who I am. So that's why I can teach, like, dang, projection is perception. It's some wild shit. Like, people can only perceive themselves. People can only connect with themselves. You know, like, this is why the universe is hell and relationships are hell. And then the idea of heaven is fire and hell is water. So when you think of heaven, it's like the pure desire. The pure desire. And then hell is everything that makes that desire real. You feel me? So that's what water is, reality. Like, hell is real. And we bring heaven to hell. That's what you look up anything about Thoth. That's what we do. We bring heaven to earth. It's about literally bringing our imaginations together in a way that makes sense and builds structures which supports our ascension into greater simulations that we set up for ourselves as spirits. But it takes all of us doing it. I promise you forever to infinity and beyond. Truly, it's not one God setting things up. It's not we're all in the mind of one entity just masturbating and controlling all of us, and then we're all energy. Like, bro, it's so the fact that you can imagine anything at any time and no one can see that means that you're an individual space. And you have created a body where you can now share that with us. And we are all agreeing to be limited in this language of English. So that's why, like, I hate white supremacy because this language is like the most limiting language ever. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. This is the most limiting language ever. Like, it's such a challenge for me to express the magic that I want to express in it. So that's why Dissected Dialect was so awesome. Dissected Dialect was so lit because I'm at like a different level now. I see every letter in a different way. I low key want to just run through the alphabet because I feel like it for us. Like it's, but I won't because that's the point of watching Dissected Dialect. So watch that. What I will say is that the alphabet shows us that nothing is a coincidence. And the alphabet shows us how we build simulations from developing an awareness from A to Z, literally A to Z, from having that first light, that first awareness. And awareness is creating something to be aware of, meaning it's our fire. So it's our first fire. We're show that we're an A, we're ascending, we're a spirit, we're a space. And that A is us always going up. We're always like rising to just go higher and meet our spirit the moment we created an awareness. Because once we make an awareness, we're limited. So that's the point of our awareness always trying to mimic the spirit. The moment the spirit makes something, it's trying to express itself in the best way possible. And that's what we're doing on a constant daily basis. Getting these reps in is nothing. It's like, let's express ourselves the best way possible so that people can see how awesome we are is nothing. And then that's why we have infinite universes, because all of us as nothing feel differently. And then that's where we take on different shapes and forms no matter how we communicate. Like if you're a spirit that really resonates with being a dog, like you're not really going to take other animal bodies. Like you should, you'll get that wisdom, but it's not going to be your preferred thing. It's just then when you're talking about, again, wisdom and getting the experience and developing empathy with other spirits, then that's where you're going to want to take other kinds of bodies and stuff. So here we are in a world where we're humans and we're speaking a language where we're all advanced. We can go on the internet, see advanced civilizations, yet people seem so dumb. And they are so dumb. And it's because they're bred to be dumb. They're trained to be dumb. All of my hermetic wisdom has been stolen from indigenous peoples by white supremacists who are now using it to tell you that you're not real, who are using it to tell you that you're not a spirit and that you're actually just an extension of their God who they haven't even met. They're colonizing our land as indigenous people because they're looking for God, but they know that we're an extension of the God that they're looking for, who they haven't really met. It's like insane. So dissect a dialect with nothing being a coincidence. There's so much. Like indigenous. The fact that in is about going in and then white people call us the N word says a lot. So nothing, nature, the N word, Negro in general, like, and then indigenous, Indian, spirit then shows me through the English alphabet, like, okay, wow. So N is, what is it? It's letter 14. So it breaks down to 15 because it's about M and O. So M being 13 is money. That's a structure. And then N being 14 is 5 because M being 13 is 4. So it's an individual's idea on communication, which builds a structure. That's money. That's like your muscle or your mind. And then N is about that going into nothing and that being black and like transforming and being natural then. So like all nature is created from the mind. And like that's where blackness is. Like we're all black as individuals because we're all connecting with ourselves. And then that's why water's black. You go underwater, it's going to be black. It's not about to be any other color than black. I mean, the deeper you go, blacker it gets. It's straight black. So that's about our feelings. That's why the cosmos is straight black. It's all water. So our feeling of wanting to connect creates blackness. And blackness is the light that is the accumulation of all lights, all possibilities. So blackness is all possibilities. Like that's like what black is. Black has every color inside of it. And then whiteness, lightness is about being hyper specific in blackness. So this is where we just see even more how spirit creates earth, creates light through feeling like connecting with others. That's the point of us looking into the night sky and being able to understand that all of these stars would not be able to shine their individual lights if they were not connected by a big black web, a worldwide web, www, just a whole wonderful water wonderland, whatever, like blah, like just like that water stuff, that W energy that we also dissected in Dissected Dialect, where it's about double you. It's about you being your own you. And the fact that double you is double you shows that the universe is the you outside of you, meaning that the universe is a reflection of you. So you yourself are space connecting with yourself. And then that's where the universe would be the earth that is vibrating based on how you feel. And then your water, and that's your soul. And then that's you connecting your feelings with this big pool so that you can create something with other spirits. And this is how we make life elementally. Like I'm like going really hard clearly in explaining this because it's like doing it simply enough, but then also elaborating on it enough. You feel me? And I miss Cosmic Conversations. I haven't been here in a while. So, especially like I'm talking about Dissected Dialect because that's been most of my brain power for like weeks. And it is very like logical and like learning. And I'm like excited to now integrate it more naturally because I learned so much from the English alphabet. And I just like have that all locked in now, like the numbers and everything. So it's amazing that U and W, right? Like U is a 21st letter to show us that 2 plus 1 is 3. You feel like connecting with your imagination. And more so, you feel like connecting your feelings with other people's imaginations, but that took connecting with your imagination first. And in general, that's you being the God that brings fruits from your T. So when we think of STU, S is 19, T is 20, U is 21. So S, so I said like U is about connecting with yourself. Kind of scratch that. S being 19 is about connecting with yourself. It's about having sex with yourself. Now, S is very snake-like because you can very easily not want to have sex with yourself and have sex with the environment. And then that's where you become consumptive and you start to like find sly ways to kill people, basically. And like literally just kill them because you desire to connect with others by expressing your individuality. And like that's your idea of heaven. Versus if you had sex with yourself, you would create T. So you go from S to T, which is your tree. So that's the caduceus, and that's like hermeticism with the snake wrapping around the tree. And the idea of you taking your snake and not going and biting other people or trying to go to other realms, but wrapping around yourself, spiraling and creating your own realm that grows your own fruit. And now your tree, your T, is growing fruit that you can use you to carry to others. And then that's where STU is a cycle of 3. S is projection, you want to have sex. T is about connecting with that desire to have sex and doing it inside yourself. So you have a soul, you have water that grows fruits that you can then communicate those gifts, communicate your feelings, communicate your connections with yourself, your gifts to others with air, with you, the externalization of spirit. So you are the externalization of spirit, and then that's where W is the universe. So where are you? You're in the universe. You yourself are not the universe. You yourself are the center of your own universe. You create the universe by joining your universe with all of our universes. And it first takes your spirit to make that even possible, doing this elemental stuff that we're talking about right now. And then that you're doing all the time. It's just your awareness, your consciousness of it. Like, how conscious are you that you are literally thinking in the cycle of three? Like, you are thinking nothing, and then something comes out of nothing, and then you connect with that, and then you either communicate it or not, but you do communicate it in some way because you balance it. And then it's just constantly that. And like, that is building your structure right now. Like, all of this life around us is a structure. Everything's a structure. And it's being built through projection, reflection, balance, projection, reflection, balance. That's like, and it's funny that I came up with this, because this is like one of the best ways I can explain like the science, like literally the cycle of three. If it rhymes, it stands the test of time. It keeps us aligned. The cycle of three is a cycle of chi. It's a cycle of tree. All right, so all trees are created by the cycle of three. Chi communicates through structures with the cycle of three. And it's just funny. Yeah, this is my job as a Virgo. Make things make sense. So, yeah, I hope this was helpful. I don't know how long this is. I need to. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so this is how, I mean, what? This is how we create life. Let me even go harder, though. I mean, I'm kind of saying it, though, because when you watch Dissect the Dialect, we talk about that. So I'm bringing that here with U and W. So you are God. When you, as God, want to connect with other gods, you create water. That's the double U. So the first U is fire. So even though U in the alphabet is 21, which is 3, and then it's showing us that you are externalizing yourself. So you are really your spirit, but you're experiencing your spirit as air. You're experiencing your spirit as the mind all the time. Or else you wouldn't be experiencing yourself. There'd just be nothing, right? If you really want to experience yourself with others, of course, that's where you create the W. You get water, and you basically create a situation where you can connect your imagination with others. And that means being unaware. So then that's where in Dissect the Dialect we have Z. So we can see like A to Z, how A is that awareness, but then you go through this whole journey of then coming to Z, of realizing, okay, I have this awareness, I have these gifts, I've done all this work. It's now time for me to become unaware again and go back to sleep. And that's like living again. That's like the next lifetime where like you'll go back to sleep, and then it'll be a whole journey of like developing your awareness again, and like learning how to like do this whole cycle over and over, but doing it in greater, more epic and awesome ways. Because that's the whole point. If you've been connecting with yourself as a spirit well, you're building upon waters that are solidifying and working awesomely for you from the past. And then that's our whole thing of how we know we can't run from ourselves. We know we can't run from ourselves. You can't run from your own space. So many spirits want to use their feelings to run from their own space. And that's why the universe is so chaotic, and it will almost always be chaotic. I hate that I have to say that, but it's like a lesson I'm forced to learn. Based on like everything. Like, it's just always going to be a chaotic place, because that's the nature of water. It's like water wants to connect with something outside of itself. And fire does too. This is why I identify way more with Earth. I only want to connect with myself. Like, the only thing I can imagine is loving myself, connecting with myself, and then providing a platform where people who love themselves can connect with each other in harmonious, happy, and healthy ways. And then we'll call that home. That's quadruple H right there. Happy, healthy, harmonious, home. Wonderful. That's the point of Mercury. So I've already built it, and I'm glad I can visit there. That was so trippy visiting there for in this lifetime. we create life like this. So we have to limit ourselves, and we have to limit ourselves in ways that we can relate with all of each other on. So then that's where we create realms, literally all the time. So the whole point of everything being water is that everything's vibrating. So anything that you see is vibrating at a certain frequency. And it's just a matter of like how dense, like how stable is that frequency. If the frequency is like wide and chaotic, then it's not really a thing, right? It's not a body, clearly. Like this body isn't wild and chaotic, right? The wild chaotic frequency would be like radio waves, right? It would be like Wi-Fi waves. It would be like all these things that we can't see. I didn't even man. See, I love this. I love talking to y'all because I didn't even really make the connection that chaos can't be seen. People who are chaotic are actually unseen. People who are like able to stabilize are seen. But then that's where people who are chaotic want to be seen, and they will always, almost always, colonize and consume the stabilization of people who connected with themselves. Like someone, that's why water goes into earth to create life. So it takes spirits making earth versus spirits making water. It takes spirits who connect with themselves and build a platform for spirits who are water and want to connect with others to be able to create life in that platform. Or else a spirit who's connecting with themselves, it's just dry earth. And then that's the idea of like not actually being emotional as earth. You're not able to connect with others. You're too logical because you're too in your own thing. And you're actually too separate from the universe in your own box. And then it would take you getting watered and nurtured by people to, get a little connected to the universe, get a little wet in the W, so that now you can start growing some plant life and vegetation that makes you feel good and like has fruits and all that cool stuff. Like this is nature. So we create nature to learn about ourselves. That's why like I forever my whole life I've hated how this government treats nature and how everyone who worships this government is okay with it. And then it's just like, what does it say about you that you're okay with the entities that you're living under destroying nature? Like you don't care about yourself, you don't care about your own nature. So sad. So we create nature to learn about ourselves because we have to step outside of ourselves so that we can connect with other spaces. And that's immediately chaotic. So then this is why then the moment we're connecting, we're trying to stabilize connections, right? And that's the whole point of relationships, right? So we're all relating in some way for us to be able to create life right now. Like our spirits are creating the circumstance to create this water where they're then igniting their imagination of like, how do I want to communicate my individuality into this water? And when we do that consistently, we create chi. And that chi is what builds our body. So when your dad gives your mom the seed and then your mom is incubating you in her womb, in her water, in her wet W, she's nurturing you with all this nutrient, right? All this water stuff. And she has this womb of water that you as a spirit can constantly ignite your fire into. And that fire, that intention is building your body inside of her body. And her body being the W is working together. This is why life is together. So these two people, this is why the mark of the beast is 666. It's about your mom 6 and your dad 6 and then your 6 all having 6 together. And that creates the flesh that is your actual body. So when you as a spirit want to bring your you into the W so you can connect with other yous, then it takes the mom and the dad collaborating, your spirits collab, boom, they have you, and now your mom is incubating you, and your spirit, your nothingness, is constantly putting its intention into the cells of its body. So now it's just growing its body. Like it's vibrating the cells, and the cells are molding based on this fire. Because when the fire hits the water, it creates air. And that air is chi. So this is why all of your cells are powered by chi. All of your cells are communicating. Your body is only as good as it's communicating, and it's only as good as chi is able to flow through it. So then that's how you literally build this body, through chi. Through you literally putting your fire into your mom's womb. And that's able to build up the cells from the semen, the seed that the father put into her. So your mom is using water to nourish his earth, and you're able to turn that earth. So you're using your fire. I've never explained this process before. That's why I asked this question and why we're going so long. Way to go. Thank you. This is a fantastic question. Uh, I have so many questions, but I knew this was about to be. I just didn't think it was going to go this deep. But this one had to be it after not doing cosmic conversations for so long because of dissected dialect. Dissected dialect really gave me a greater awareness on how to use these words and use these letters to explain life to you. You. Letter U. Hilarious. So, letter U, right? You want to connect with other yous. So you are igniting your you, your intention into the double U of your mom, into her womb, which is holding the seed, the earth of your father. And so with her water nurturing his seed, and that's all in her egg, but her egg is the water. Her egg is the water for the seed. The man has the earth. He's bah, earth. Even though it looks like he's watering her and she's the earth, it is an interplay for sure. As far as how the sperm literally swims up, literally, right? So the sperm, we can be oh, but the sperm is water and the egg is earth actually, and it's that's fair, But when we're really talking about vibrationally and energetically, I'm using these words that the sperm cells are going to be more of the earth, the man contributed earth, whereas the woman is constantly nurturing it. So then that's why the womb is wet. Whereas the man can be dry about his kids. You can bust out a seed and not know that you have a child. A woman is not gonna not know she has a child. A woman is forced to be connected to her child. So that's why I'm using earth for men. It's not, about oh, but it's seed, and so it's water and it's in her, so he's actually watering her, she's the earth. I get what you're saying. That's physically what it looks like. Everything's reversed spiritually. So that's where, with the man being dry, giving up his dry seeds, his dry cells to keep getting wet, nurtured by her womb, now all of that earth and water is life, and you're turning it into metal. So this is why the metallic mentality is about separating yourself inside of the earth you're in. So we're all things, we're all earth, but the way you communicate to make your body is your metal. That's your mental, and that was you using your fire to transform the way that your body's developing. So that happens, of course, after birth too. Of course, we're constantly doing it. That's the point. We are using our fire to transform this structure that we're building to experience life. So that's where, when you're building a body in your mom's womb, the baby, you're growing based on how you're using your intentions to communicate your desire. You're using your fire to communicate your desire. And your desire to connect in a certain way then manifests as a human body. And then that's where we have all the nuances. We don't have to that's just infinite stuff, that's subconscious stuff of why does someone develop health problems or a birth defect, and then it's was that meant to happen? Did they want to connect like that, or was it an environmental factor? Was it that the parents' genetics got messed up from mutations in the world, and they got messed up by the environment, heavy metal toxins, right? Stuff poisoning their body and mutating their cells and everything. But then even then, that's purposely created circumstances where there's a balance of the wisdom of how spirits create life. Spirits create their circumstances to be aware, but if you aren't aware that you're creating your circumstance, then it'll be a harder circumstance than someone who is aware. You know, and that's the idea of a spirit feeling like they're going to go to hell if they die versus a spirit knowing that they're stepping down into a reality. Like spirits who know that they're stepping down into a reality feel higher about their space. So they're not attached to things down here. Whereas a spirit that feels lower about their reality, they're trying to attach everything up here. Up here is heaven, right? Even though this is actually hell, but like it's heaven to them because they feel in even lower vibration than here. This is why everything's vibrational and it's all feeling. And your question, yeah, it ties just like perfectly with like how do spirits create life and how does intuition work? It's all about listening to your feelings and asking yourself questions. So that's what like U and W are all about. You ask questions to figure out W, where you are, who you are, what you are, when you are, why you are. And then that's where we get W, X, Y. So W, where are you? X, you sacrifice your you. You are in the universe. W is showing you you're in a universe, you're in a vibe right now because you sacrificed your individuality. You've sacrificed your individual imagination. Why? That takes us to the letter Y, right? So now X, Y. So why did you sacrifice your imagination on the cross? Where are you? Because, right, V, W, X, Y. So V is the vibe. V is literally 22. You're trapped in a box, a vibe earth. Like, whoa, I'm in a vibe. Where am I? Boom. V, W, X. Oh, I sacrificed my individuality. Y, letter Y. Letter Y being, what, 25? It's 7. So it's like you're severing reason. No one knows why you sacrifice your individuality. That's like your specific subconscious stuff. And I'm saying subconscious stuff because it's 7, but your 7 is powered by your feeling. Like your 7 is your consciousness. So you're separate. You're like, hey, I'm here. I agree to sacrifice my individuality to express myself. Your reasons why are always deeper than anything we can see. But the point is, your reasons why separate you from all of us. So they 7 you. And your reasons why you're sacrificing your individuality are Z. So you can sleep with me, sleep with them, sleep with yourself, and sleep with everyone, sleep with all the spirits on planet Earth, right? We go to sleep together every night to create this planet. All of us as bodies, we sleep, right? So now once we know why we're sacrificing our individuality to be in a vibe, we can comfortably sleep. And this is the whole thing of awareness and unawareness. So awareness is knowing that you're God, but unawareness is God creating the circumstance to be able to connect with other gods. So if we all know we're gods, we're too egotistic to be able to connect with each other. You feel me? Like we're just like two in our own fucking fire, and we're just projecting fire, and that's war, right? We're like, I'm the best, and it's just like hella fire. So that's the point of us creating water, where we are all forced to connect with each other based on how we connect with ourselves. And then that's why life is a reflection of you. And it's all about you communicating with yourself, but everyone is communicating with themselves together. And then we're building structures to do that. And that's how we create life. That's the only way. You feel me? Like, and then the details of this are infinite. That's the fact. But this is the only way, or else we're too individual. You're God alone in your imagination, and you will literally just be alone. And then if you want to connect with everyone, you have to like start all over. So, I mean, that's why you're scared of death. And that's why anyone's scared of death. Everyone's scared of being alone. Kill me, please. You know, like, dying would be so awesome. That's the whole point of knowing that as a spirit, you are already dead. You're bringing death into life. You're bringing your water into your earth. You're bringing your soul into your body from your space. You feel me? You're already dead. So death is water and life is earth. And we really need to get that. We need to like get the whole world on that. Death is water and life is earth. So all lives are connected through death. That's why I can go on the internet, look up all my lives and be like, wow, it's just all me dying. You know, because as a spirit, I'm constantly going in. The letter in, I'm constantly creating nature from going into my nothingness. I'm constantly creating something new nature from going inward into my nothingness. That's why white supremacists call me as an indigenous man the inward, because I go inward to create new nature from my nothing. Right now. Right now. How? Now. Connecting. So this is it. Like, it's just so subconscious. This is what alchemy is. It's purely communication and your conscious ability to communicate your imagination, your feelings, and combine these things and be satisfied with it and connect with others on it and build a whole universe, because it's all then simulation. This is what we do. Like, it has to be simulations, right? So this is a whole cosmic conversations on, me explaining how this works, how you can listen to your intuition. How can you listen to your intuition? I just said it. I mean, I can say more. I'd love to say more. I already did just say it though. Your intuition's your soul. And your soul is powering your body. So your intuition is you literally going in. Like I just said, like the letter in, you being indigenous, you going natural, you going inward. So you're into. So you connect with yourself in the number 2, intuition. And then in general, intuition is just about, learning from connecting with yourself. Right there. That's what intuition is. So then that's the fact is your soul is you connecting with yourself. You're constantly making water from connecting with yourself. So intuition is when you listen to your water and you listen to the world around you and you listen to the feelings and you listen to yourself, right? You listen to what is powering your body. And it's then literally right there in the word, you realize you as a space are creating the feeling of expressing nothing by connecting with yourself. And that is what makes the soul. And now you can learn from the soul as the body. So now your soul, once it's connecting with itself, it desires to learn more about itself by connecting with others. And that's your earth body. So now this earth body is letting you connect with other earth bodies that are also powered by souls. So now, although all of our souls are very different and we all feel differently, we're all connected by our feeling of wanting to use this language and use these lights, use the internet, use this realm to communicate our imaginations and feelings with each other. And that's what connects us. And then that's where we can learn more about other people. We learn more about the universe. We learn more about everyone outside of ourselves. And then we learn about who we are in the universe. Like, who are you in the double U, right? Because as you, as a space, you're an individual. And then everything is happening outside of you. Like, if you kill yourself, we're all going to be here doing our thing. Like, we're going to keep going. Like, it's lit. Like, that's the point of you being an individual God. You, and then the W. There's the universe, which is being created by all of us as individual gods. So then that's where you want to be a part of the universe. And you want to come in and learn, like, okay, like, what's my role here? What do I do here? Like, what, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the whole point. That's what we're doing. We're all learning from each other. And we're all learning how, I would hope, how to connect with ourselves. That's the point of intuition. We're all learning how to go inward more so that we don't actually need to connect with each other. Because, like, you should be happy alone. You should be super happy alone. It's like the biggest plague here. It's like the biggest issue I've seen in this realm is that people aren't happy alone. And the government breeds it. I get it. I see it. I know that. Like, we're forced to be in school with hella people that we're not even allowed to talk to. But, like, we're just trained to hate being alone by people who colonize indigenous lands because they hate being alone. Indigenous peoples are happy being alone. That's why we're indigenous. We're indigits. we just go in and make sense of that with our digits, and then we create 5-cycle reality with our digits, with our numbers, based on how we connect with ourselves. And then white supremacists are like, wow, we like your 5-cycle reality based on how you connect with yourselves. We're going to colonize that. And here we are. This is what's happening. Indigenous peoples are constantly colonized so that they can make white people possible. And then white people constantly need to tell us as indigenous peoples that we're nothing, that we're the inward, because they hate their nothingness. They hate their inward. They hate their own feelings. They hate their own blackness. They call us black because they hate their blackness. They want us to be black because they feel like they have nothing, and they thus need to steal all of our somethings, which we created from nothing. And we know it's representation of our nothing, and we're not attached to it. So, yeah, these white supremacists are lost, and they want us lost in light. So, this is how this works. All right, your intuition, you as a space, you create it from connecting with yourself. That's your soul, and that's constantly powering your body. It's beautiful. It's alchemy. This is your boy, Symmetry, Tehuti Trismegistus, Hermes Thrice Great. It's just like, because I'm stopping myself right now. I'm purposefully blocking myself because I could keep going. But then it's like, am I going in circles? Have I honestly made the point? It's all alchemy. And when I say that, like, I've already explained it numerically, masculine wise. We have the cycle of 3, and the cycle of 3 is elemental. So we can see how elements and numbers correlate. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, fire, water, air, fire, water, air, fire, water, air. And Earth is created by souls who want to connect with other souls. That's the fact. So when water wants to connect with other water, it creates Earth. Because water can only connect with itself. And then that's the point of like how water colonizes, basically. And like water is just like it's feeling. Like water is a feeling inside of itself. And then in spaces we can never get out of ourself. So we need to create an externalization that is really, it desires to be external, but it's an internalization and it's our feeling. But that's where we create air out of water. And then we call like the densest version of air water. And then we call this light version of water air. But really it's all air. But because it's all vibrating, it's all water. And then that's the point of life being balanced. So everything you can see is earth. I mean, everything you can touch is earth. Everything you can see is like fire. Yeah, I mean, it's the vision. Everything you can touch is earth. Everything you can feel is water. Everything you can see is fire. And then everything you can like, communicate? Like, because it's like fire, the whole point of fire is that it's the vision. And that we're creating light because we want to be seen. But we need to shine this light through water. So we all make this big black water realm first. We call it the cosmos. And then we shine our lights into it. And that creates chi, that energy that then generates a star. And now we're all stars. And now we can use the energy to settle and create structures that solidify the way that we express and communicate our space. And then these structures animate that. And now we're still stars, but we're denser. And then we're getting denser and denser and slower. And then that's just where it's lower and lower vibrations. So it's just all about speed then at that point. Density and vibes and feeling, literally feeling. And knowing that life is only possible through water, through connections. So the only thing that drives life is a spirit wanting to connect with a spirit outside of itself. That's what drove my awakening, literally, completely, was my desire to communicate with my dead dog. Like, I felt like he was my best friend my whole life. I felt like we really understood each other in a way that no other human or anyone could ever understand me. And when he died, I had to go to college, and that was just whack. It was so whack being forced to be in school and not be able to hang out with him. And then being forced to go to college. And he was supposed to die when I was at college. But of course, he stayed alive for me to come back, and then stayed alive like throughout all of winter break so that I could just hang it with him. You know, he's super sick, but it was just like cuddling him and laying with him and being like, I love you, best friend. And and he kept pulling through, and he's awesome, and he's the best. And he died January 8th, 2016, to truly show me, bro, that he is a nine-dimensional being. Because that was later when I was like, bro, wait, if Max is really Anubis, then he's a nine-dimensional being, and that means he died on a date that will equal to 9. And then I had to look back, and it's like, oh, that's crazy. It was literally January 8th. So here we are. That's 9. And then 2016, up 2 plus 1 plus 6 is, here we are with 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. That's still 9. So you did good, Max. I love you very much. And it was literally just that desire to communicate to him that allowed me to travel the universe and awaken in a broader scale. So I lived it. Like, I got the reps in, bro, in this lifetime. I know that that's the alchemy that powers all of life. Spirits desiring to connect with a space outside of theirs, and they create water to do so. And that water is feeling. And that feeling is what allows us to communicate our desire to stabilize our imaginations. And then we do that together. And that's us building structures and everything together. It's so natural. That's what a tree is. That's how, when you watch plants grow, that's like everything I was seeing in the garden when I was writing Dissect the Dialect. It was just like, okay, this is how plants build. Like, I'm just like, dang, like these plants, like, they're out here. This is just it. Simple. All because we feel like it. Pretty awesome. So that's it for this cosmic conversation. Much love to you. Stay easy. Keep communicating the way that you want your life to be. That's the point of the cycle of 3 and conscious communication. Project things, but always reflect and then be like, okay, let me balance that. And balancing is you looking at your projection and then your connection with your projection and figuring out if you really want to communicate that so it'll settle into earth or not. Because your words architect life. Your words architect your reality. So when you're speaking, that's you balancing. And that creates your life. That's what, like, your life is your structure. That's built by your body using air, and that is all earth. Right? So right there, when you know what kind of structure you want, then it's all about making sure you're communicating consciously so that you're actually building that structure. Because so many people out here have their imagination, their idea of God. So many humans out here, right, have their ideas of God and their imagination and the structures they want to build, but they're not going through the cycle of 3 and communicating properly to create the air that actually settles into this earth that supports their desires. So listening to your intuition, literally going in to your own space. And ideally, that would be separating your mind and going back to hang out in your spirit like I do. That's big, humongous part of my awakening was being able to take my mind away from my body, and before going around the universe and stuff, consistently going back to my space. And me, after being like indoctrinated in this white supremacist world of basically believing all this other garbage, finally being able to just connect with my true self and do that in a consistent way, that I was able to come back and bring it here and then be more conscious of what I have done here before. Whereas when I was asleep, I couldn't. But I knew as a spirit that I wanted to be aware of who I was. So that's the whole point of, like, as a spirit, your fire separates you. So anytime you as a spirit create a situation where you're unaware with other spirits, you are always still aware of who you are. So your imagination will always trickle through your body. And you will always find a way to express your individuality with the tools that you've been given. And then you always just build your stuff from there, and that's it. That's life again. So it's lit. Bro, we're here. Building, finding a way, making the way. We make the way and then we find it because we made the way black. And then, it's like dark. And now we have to make a light. But then it's like we have to build structures in the light. And it's just light and structures. And man, communication, bro. It's a lot of nuance. Creating worlds. Yeah, that's it. Stay easy. I appreciate you. Communicate consciously. Go into yourself. Be indigenous. Inside. Digitize your own feelings. Go into your own space and make sense of your own water. Make earth out of your own water so you can create your own life, create your own simulations, create your own continents, create your own land masses, create your own home, because all of these are physical manifestations of the soul. And you wouldn't have any idea of anything that I'm saying right now if you didn't have a soul. Peace. Yeah.